Right, today we've got two Land Cruisers, two 79 series, one's built 2008, one's built 2019, 11 years difference. What has Toyota done in the last 11 years to make these two different? Today we're going to find out. So this is Andy's 2008 79 series. Now, this one has been battered and bruised in all the right places. He's built it up slowly to what he wants it to be. There's new bull bars, new snorkels, new mirrors, new everything on this over time. But essentially, this is a 2008 model, which makes it 17 years old. And this is my pride and joy. This is my 2019 single cab 79 series. Now, I got this stock as a rock, and we've done all the modifications to it. It hasn't seen the abuse and the hard tracks that Andy's has, but it's done its fair share of tracks too. This one, I just love it. So today we're going to put them side by side and compare them. We're going to compare engine and drivability, we're going to compare interior and comfort, the modability of both and value for money, and actually see what Toyota has changed in the last 11 years. So when we boil it down, these both share the same DNA. Look, they're both solid axle front and rear, they're both leaf sprung, and they both have that amazing V8 4-litre turbo Toyota engine, which is absolutely bulletproof, easily tunable, can get parts all over Australia. It's why miners and farmers and blokes that like to spend more time off-road than on go to this vehicle. That is why they are so popular. So Andy's car has got the same V8 turbo engine in it, the 4-litre. It's bulletproof, it's brilliant, but it doesn't have the DPF, which in my book is a plus. So there's not as much to go wrong with it. It's more easily fixed and probably easier to tune too. Now, this one has been changed because Andy actually sunk his car last year, which we keep reminding him about. He's put a brand new engine in here and it's got a brand new gearbox, the newer gearbox, the same as what's in mine. So it's got a taller 5th gear, and whichever first or second gear is absolutely bulletproof now too. So he still doesn't have to have a DPF in it. So this car's actually got the best of both worlds. Plus, last Christmas he put on the DPF bonnet, which is a more aggressive bulgy bonnet too. So it actually looks like a later model car, even though it's not, but it has all the benefits of being the older model. So moving on to mine. So the evolution here is this one, same V8 engine, same 4-litre turbo, but this one does have a DPF in it, and that helps with emissions and all that government stuff that they make us comply with, which is whatever. But it does come with the newer gearbox, the taller 5th gear, so the fuel economy is a lot better. The wiring's been updated, the alternator puts out a little bit more, and it's got airbags and all that stuff. It's been sort of beefed up a little bit more mine spec, so it does have an ANCAP 5 rating, these ones, so they are a lot safer, allegedly. And the other notable point between this is a GXL and so is mine. The big difference for off-roading is this one comes from factory twin locked, whereas Andy's has got a aftermarket air locker in there just on the rear. So from factory, this one's definitely a lot more capable. So let's talk about how Andy's built this up to tackle the tracks. So this thing does tackle some really tough tracks. He takes this thing where I wouldn't dream of taking mine. It's been on its side, it's been buried in sand, it's been through water up to here, as you've seen in a few old videos. This thing just keeps going, it's driving straight-ish. It's really, this is a weapon on the tracks. There's probably nowhere this thing hasn't been. He runs 35s with a 2-inch lift. It's a lot more lightweight than mine. Andy's got the alloy tray. You can take the canopy on and off, it's off at the minute. So this is a real lightweight rig, whereas mine's probably more of a tourer. So this thing here, it's got so many good battle scars all over it. The latest one's his rear tail light, which in the last effort out, he managed to bin it. So yeah, this thing is used properly as a 4-wheel drive. So mine came to me as a farm truck. It was bog stock except for the tray. This is a big steel tray, which was, for a farmer, amazing. For me, it's not so good because it's very, very heavy. It is an alloy canopy, but this is more of a tour. It has seen its fair share of tracks, nothing like Andy's. But I'm running 33s with a sort of a not newer 2-inch lift with airbags in the back, so the ride in this is a lot nicer than the ride in that. It still will tackle all the tracks. It does tackle the bitumen a lot too. So this is more of a tourer, more of a get me there, get the beers out, put the tent up, we're camping. That's kind of more what I'm into. I do love my tough tracks, but it's not a weapon like this one is. So when we come into Andy's truck, like this was built 2008. It's got the old metal dash. It rattles in all the right places. It's built for a purpose. This is very, very agricultural in here. It's got a really good grab handle for the passenger when you're going up something that you shouldn't be. You don't want to fall out the door. You hang on to that. He's swapped out all the handles for these corded ones, so they've got a bit more play in them. He's put a steering wheel cover on and a new head unit. Did I mention he has a new head unit? Because that's about the only extra tech he has in here. Oh, he's got a center console fridge. But this is basic. This is what it should be for a farm truck. Actually, I tell a lie. He's completely sound edited this because he got a new exhaust on. A little shorty dumpy thing that goes out just behind the side step there, and this thing is loud. Because he doesn't have a DPF, it sounds proper good, but he had to put sound deadening in because it was so loud in here. No, it's nice and quiet, and it actually keeps it cool in the summertime too. But apart from that, there's not a lot to talk about in here. There's a couple of fun buttons here, which are the air lockers, and he does have aftermarket cruise control. That's about it. Oh, and this air vent here, which blows air straight between your legs, is possibly the one thing that I don't have in my car that I wish I did, because this, when you're driving it in the summer, that is game changing. Right, let's talk about my car. Now, factory mods at Toyota, obviously the dashboard is new. They changed this, I think, the year after Andy's, so this has been in the Cruisers for a long time, but it is a bit of a different dashboard. Other things from factory is the twin diff locks, which, you know, brilliant because you're track ready for these. It's got a really modern air conditioner in here. It's got 3 sliding levers, which, you know, all the modern cars have those probably because, you know, you need that, and it's got a proper dial that you turn the fan up and down with, but surely that's modern now. I think the rest of the market's caught up with that. I've actually modded this because I do like a bit of comfort in the cab. There's new seats, center console fridge, wireless CarPlay, aftermarket steering wheel. I've sound deadened all of mine too because it's just a bit of comfort. The overhead roof console, dash mats with organizers, airbag controls. I've got a garage door opener switch, my Tow Pro controller. Just, this is a nice place to be now, and it's quiet and it's comfy and it's modern. Yeah, I just love being in here and driving it. Right, so let's get into the fun stuff. Modifications. Both of these cars, 79s from the factory, they're a bit boring. You need to modify them to make them yours, make them what you want them to be, for what purpose you want them to serve. Now, Andy's, he's slowly built this up over the years that he's had it, not so much for any sort of a plan, but every mod does have a purpose. It's not a showroom, you know, a show and shine truck. This thing is built for a purpose, and every scratch tells a story. Every mod has a purpose. Everything is what it should be. It does a job. Now, he likes to run the canopy off as much as he can, but he does have a full canopy on there, which has got a full 12-volt system in it and a kitchen that he's built up himself. He is a Sparky, and he's put that all together in the way that he thinks is best, and I think that's evolving through time too. Everything is done, and look, this thing is, you know, there's a lot of battle scars on it because it's used properly. So let's talk a little bit about mine. Now, mine's slightly different. I've built this for a purpose. I've had a bit of a plan, and I've spent some money on it to do it the way I want it to. So, you know, suspension is Old Man Emu suspension, 2-inch lift. It's only a couple of years old. The canopies, custom made, Bush Company rooftop tent, 270 awning, XT Max, the EnerDrive Dometic Voyager system, which is pre-wired, so there's no loose Anderson plugs flapping about. It's all been wired professionally, not by me because I'm not that good at it. But this thing is sensational, along with purpose-built drawers from Dunn & Watson. This is a tour. This is something that is built for doing tracks to get us somewhere so we can sit down and enjoy the view, enjoy the beach, enjoy the bush, have a fire, and just sit around and yarn, because that's what Irish people like to do. So if we analyze, so if you like, Andy's setup is like a campfire yarn, full of stories and good times and ready for anything. Mine's more like a well put together toolkit, very well packed and ready for anything. They're both serving different purposes, but both will get you everywhere you want to go. So let's talk numbers. 2008 model online, probably about 65 grand at the minute. 2020 and newer, probably anywhere from 90 to 100 to 110,000 depending where you buy it. Now that's plus you want to put it, whatever mod you want to put on. What's the difference? Well, DPF aside, because not DPF is, in my eyes, a lot better because it sounds proper. This one is going to have, well, it's just run out, but a newer one might have a bit of warranty on it. It'll certainly have better reliability. It'll have a lot less Ks. This one's going to have more Ks. You might have to fix them more. It might break down a lot more. Toyotas are generally very reliable, but you never know what you're buying because you're buying somebody else's problems. Maybe if they're this old, this one, we had to put a new engine in. 2 years into it. You got to weigh up what sort of money do you want to spend and what do you want to do with it, and how much do you want to tinker and fix it. So which one's better, or which one should you buy? Look, if you're in a budget, or you want to build it up yourself slowly over time, or you just don't want to spend all the money on a car, the older one might be the way to go. You might need a few more cable ties, but hey, it's worth it. You can tinker away to your heart's content. Maybe you want to step into the newer one. Maybe you want to have a car for longer. I don't intend selling this probably ever, because I absolutely love this car, which is why I went ahead and got the newer Model 1, because I will have this for years. I've already had it for, I think, 3 years now, and I'm only starting to get to know it. So there's a long time left for me with this car. Probably need less cable ties. It's a little bit more reliable, and I can take my time slowly over the years and build it up to exactly what I want it to be. All right, so which one should you buy? Old or new? You know what? It doesn't matter. They're both a 79. Whichever one you buy, you've won, because they both slap. That is, they are the go-to car in Australia for serious touring and off-roading. Let me know in the comments which one you would buy. So thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.